Hello everyone, uh, welcome to another video class, and in this occasion we're going to be talking about the collection framework. Now, we're going to split these videos into 5 sections. The first section is going to be like a generic intro, uh, fairly theoretical of what the collection framework is. And then in the following 4 videos, we're going to be talking in detail of what each one of the collection is, how they behave, and probably we'll do a little bit of coding in those consecutive videos. So to start, let's start defining what the collection framework is. So the collection framework is going to be a group of Java code that is being built in for us, and the main function of these classes and this code is to create objects that collect other objects. In other words, the idea is to be able to create some sort of containers that will have some other objects internally. Now, you've been using some of these already. So for example, array lists is part of the collection framework that we have in Java. So from a more generic point of view, as I've said before, a collection would be a group of objects. Now, if we think about a collection as a potato sack, all those potatoes that I have inside the sack would be the objects that I'm collecting, and the sack itself would be the collection. So it's just as simple as that idea. Now, if we're only talking about containers, then what would be the difference between that and an array? Well, the difference is going to be that each type of collection, we're going to see 4 of them, each type of collection has its own set of rules. So not all of them will behave the same way, and not all of them are going to have the same set of instructions. So what we want to have a look in these videos is to see the particularities of each one of the type of collections that we have. Now, one of the things that a collection allows me to do is allows me to iterate through the collection. So it allows me to go over each one of the elements that I have inside the collection. And it also allows me to split the collection if I need smaller chunks. So there are a couple of functionalities in there that collections have that others structures don't. Like, for example, arrays, they wouldn't allow me to change the size of the collection, for example. And those are one of the things that the collections would do. Now, all in all the collections that we have follow an interface, and we already know that an interface is a set of methods that a class must have if the class implements the interface. So one of the things that happens with the collection is that there is a collection interface, and that has a set of methods that every collection should have. So for example, I'm not going to go through all of these. There are actually 3 slides of these methods, but I'm just going to mention some of them. Every collection should have an add method. So if I have a collection, I need to have a way that I can add a new element into the collection. All of the collections must have a clear method, so a way to empty the collection itself. All the collections should have a contains method, something that allows me to verify if an object is included in the collection already or not. All the collections have a contains all method, which is exactly the same thing as the previous, but it works with another collection. So for example, if I'm not looking for one particular element inside the collection, but instead I'm looking for a set of elements inside the collection. So that would be the contain all method. Again, I'm not gonna go through all of these objects, but all of these methods, but take a look at them on your own time. So is empty, iterator, remove all. They're fairly self-explanatory. We have size, to array, and to array as well. So just let me know if you have any questions. And remember, you can always post your questions on Moodle or Slack or whatever way. Now, the type of collections from the collection framework will be basically these 4 categories. So we will have sets, we will have lists, we will have the queues, and we will have maps. Now, just to make a couple of things clear in here, maps are not technically part of the collection framework. So maps are not really following the collection interface. However, because a map is also a way to collect objects, it is normally studied together, but it is important to keep in mind that the map is not a collection, but is normally related to collections itself. So technically it's not a collection, but we will see it as a bunch. So the next 4 videos are going to be specific on each one of these collections. Now, just to see this graphically, and just to have an idea of how this works, the collection framework, which is an interface, will be implemented by these objects: a set, a list, and a queue. Then I have subclasses of those classes. In this case, I have the DQ that is part of the queue abstract class, and then I have concrete implementations: hash set, array list, and array DQ. We are somewhat familiar with these things already, but we'll use them in the following videos to see what their particularities are. And as I mentioned, the map, which is also an interface, is not part of the collection framework. That's why it's kind of on its own. And one concrete implementation of the map would be hash maps. There are other implementations of all of these structures. So there is other type of sets, there is other type of lists, there are other types of the queue, and there are other types of hash maps, but we have an example of each one in here that we can actually use. Now, something that you need to keep in mind is which one you will use for your problem depends on your problem. And that's why it is very important to understand what the capabilities of each one of the collections is in order for you to assess your situation and then implement the one that you need. So most of you have been using lists so far, and that is a great collection, but it's not the only one. And there are other collections that allow you to do different things. So we'll take a look in detail in the next couple of videos. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next 4 videos on each one of the type of collections. See you in the next one.